Well, hey, it's Simeon here with you. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us here today. Well, we are really lucky to have yet another Nimitz 2004 Tic Tac witness.
Yeah.
We're here with Gary Voorhis.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Gary, and you guys gave us a super presentation a couple nights ago, the panel. You told us all what you had seen, and it's really interesting. Everyone who's been involved had a different sort of vantage point on incident.
Well, we all had different jobs. We all had, different vantage points, different accesses. Some of us had full access. Some of us, were just a fly on the wall. Some people were running the show.
Right.
So it was really good to get back together with my shipmates that I hadn't seen in 14 years and kind of, put this to bed at least a little bit.
Yeah. What were you doing? Your job was, you were on the USS Princeton, right? And you're a CEC Aegis tech. What did you do exactly? What was your job?
So I was an Aegis computer technician, 1144 if anybody wants to go crazy technical with it.
Yeah.
And also as a CEC technician, and at that time CEC wasn't it was an experimental system, so there was no NEC for it.
What does it stand for?
Cooperative engagement capabilities. It allows all the ship sensors to be shared with other ships so that we can do non-line of sight fire.
Right.
That's the basics of it. Everything else is just all classified. So, but it basically just shares information
between different vessels
amongst all the
and
ships.
planes.
Yeah, sensor data, radar data, link data,
fire control
data. Yeah, specifically fire control data. So, because it's looking for fire control solutions from one ship to another,
based on all the data that's coming in from all the ships.
And so what that system will do is it'll coordinate the entire battle group, find a fire control solution for whatever the target is, and then see who the best available.
Right. And
then that ship will launch off of that data. But then I also run the Aegis Combat Systems computer systems that does record all Link 11, all the back channel talk, everything you see in combat on all those screens that they're looking at. The big screens sitting up on when you see the pictures of them on the big huge monitors in combat, and all the consoles. All that information's fed to it from my computer system. And then, of course, I'm data recording everything that happens at all times. I'm responsible for all of the data recordings, and at that particular time, I was one of the only computer technicians on board.
One of the only computer technicians. Your job is to keep the whole thing going, right?
Yep.
Record it, make sure it's all recorded.
Make sure the recording's good, make sure everything's up and running, so that if we do fire something, we're ready to go.
Right.
I remember when we first got the tracks that we were, the famous Tic Tac tracks.
November 2014.
Yep, and we were all kind of like, at first it wasn't no big deal at all. Honestly, it was just a malfunction of the spy radar. We were just going to take it down, clean it up, recalibrate it, which takes a little while. It's not like a flip of a switch and then we just reset it like your computer. But if we start getting tracks like that, we tend to think that it's just clutter or some type of anomalous reading that we need to recalibrate spy, because it's a very high fidelity radar.
Sure. So you took the system down?
Yeah, we did. We took the whole system down, we brought it back up, and then once we brought it back up,
after a couple days of having these tracks?
Well, it was about a day after, because once you go, you get 24 hours with some garbage tracks, you kind of want to clean everything out. I mean, that's happened before. And then as soon as we brought the system down, recalibrated it, brought it back up, they were gone, Yeah, and then...
Not this time, though.
No, not this time. No, this time we tracked it for quite a while.
Yep.
And I remember after a while, we were all kind of looking at each other like, why aren't we more worried about a lot of this? Why aren't, what's going on? Because we're junior personnel, so, we're kind of in the dark most of the time with what the upper chain of command is trying to do, even the chiefs, they kind of only talk amongst themselves.
They're like E7 and above. You guys are E6.
Yeah, E7 and above. They kind of have their own little clique, and then of course the officers have their own little clique, and then everybody else, we just kind of speculate and then complain about what everybody else is not doing.
You guys are the ones doing the real work on the ship to keep it all going.
Well, we're doing the blue collar labor.
Blue collar. So what happens? You guys, you bring the system back up. The tracks are still there.
It's still there, and we're just like, all right, well, you know what? They're real tracks. I mean, they don't go away, you know. But the problem is they're only going like 100 knots
At 28,000 feet,
yeah,
as Kevin
and,
told
you know,
us.
and it's like I can remember saying, you know, unless this thing's like made of balsa wood, you know, what the hell is this? You know, we ain't got no helicopters up. We ain't got. I mean, even a helicopter's not gonna be sitting that altitude, you know, doing 100 knots. So it kind of baffled a lot of people. You know,
Yeah.
I can remember being in combat and kind of hiding over in the sub area, waiting to, you know, hear what's going on. You know, listening to the back talk and back channels and stuff, and them talking about all the events and stuff they were going on. And some of the stuff we were doing was simulated, so we didn't have to necessarily launch aircraft for it. So once we got to the point where we were going to launch aircraft, that's when Senior Chief Day decided that it was going to be a safety issue, and actually went to the captain and asked to, you know, intercept these tracks and find out what they are. You know, because you know, so we just,
It's his decision.
Yeah.
To do that.
Well,
Of course,
it's his decision to ask the captain.
Ask the captain.
Everything goes through the captain.
he asked the captain, "Can we do an intercept here? We don't know what these are. They could be dangerous."
Yeah.
Right.
So
So
it's
exercise.
Once he did the go ahead, that's when kind of this whole ball of wax kind of started.
Yeah.
You know, that's when the you know, everything went ape. That first encounter, you have to remember, that wasn't filmed.
Right.
The very first one, because it seems
The
to be,
day Fravor encounter.
There does seem to be some confusion about that, because
Yeah.
it's actually after David had gotten back, and then they launched 2 more birds that they threw a pod on, which is a FLIR,
The FLIR pod.
the FLIR pod, so that they could actually track it. Now
That's the video we've seen.
Yeah.
The little tiny couple.
now
seconds
that's a little snippet of it. Now,
Yeah.
you know, I want to also make it very clear that I've seen around 10-minute video like Jason did.
Yeah.
It's the same video. We both saw the same videos. We both saw the same thing. You know, craft doing amazing aerobatics. You know, right angles, turns, starting and stopping on a dime. You know, no acceleration, just from point A to point B at X speed, and that's it.
Right angle turns.
Right angle turns.
You've seen it all.
I've
You've
seen
seen
it all. It even just flew around stuff like it was
Flew.
nothing. Yeah.
Barrel rolls around.
Not even barrel rolls, because it didn't even need to.
Doesn't need to. All right.
Yeah, no wings.
No wings.
So it's, you know, I wish I had gotten a better close-up of it, but I did get to see the object through the big eyes on the ship.
Those are binoculars.
These are massive binoculars,
Massive binoculars.
attached to the ship.
attached to the ship.
So I
Okay.
mean, they're like a permanent fixture. So you're good for almost the horizon on it. But these things were probably about 30 miles out. So even
You saw it through these.
Yeah.
Big eyes.
and even 30 miles out, it was just a small little dot that
Mm-hmm.
just you know, kind of was a bright little color, you know, kind of an off-white kind of color, couldn't.
At twilight, right? Was it twilight or when was
No,
it?
I saw him during the day.
You saw it during
you
the
could
day.
see him during the day.
That was Kevin who saw it.
I tried to watch him at night, but
Yeah.
I think I had the wrong bearing, because everybody was kind of I couldn't get into combat at the time, so I just called down and asked for a bearing, and I don't know if they gave me the right one, but I couldn't see it at night. But I only tried once, because I had a lot of other work and shift work to do, and nighttime, if you can sleep, you try to sleep. Okay, remember, we're still military. I mean, this isn't just, you know, stop everything just because we got something cool going
Right.
on. But any chance I got, I definitely spent it in combat, you know, trying to be a fly on the wall, trying to figure out what was going on. I wanted to know. I mean, it was an amazing situation. But then, you know, once I saw the video, and once I actually saw the objects physically through the big eyes,
Yeah.
you know, I was amazed. You know, I mean, it was a technological marvel, an advanced, you know, a situation where a whole nother level of physics, a whole nother level of science.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was just like my mind was racing, trying to figure out exactly how these propulsion systems could work. How could they possibly just stay in the air with, you know, no rotors, no jet engines, no, you know, there was nothing. I mean, it's not beyond my belief to have no engines and no rotors, but it's just to figure it out, because obviously it's some type of anti-gravity or something like that. And, you know, it kind of blew my mind, the level of tech that was really there. And You know, I'll give you the speculation story right off the bat. You know, that I've given everybody. It's because everybody that's interviewed me want to know what I think it is.
Yeah.
And I go,
What do you think?
I think it's a level of technology that that broke the laws of our known physics, and that's all I actually know. Other than that, I have some personal ideas based off of what may or may not be true, but I just don't know anything past that.
We don't know. We're speculating.
Yeah, I wouldn't speculate about it.
Even that 30% figure that we heard at the panel, that's just speculation.
Yeah.
30% that this was actually advanced black budget,
you know,
U.S.
Because you got to remember, say, all right, see, this is what I mean by depending on what is true and what is not. You know, so if it is true that there's alien crafts and we did capture one and we were able to reverse engineer technology, if that was true, then this could be us. There's I'd say a good 30% chance this could be just reverse engineered technology from our government trying to do a proof of concept against our most advanced system on the planet.
Right.
Because right now, our Aegis system, and at that time, the baseline 6.1 that we were running was the most advanced on the planet. So it could have just been proof of concept by us.
Or it could be other people trying to test their systems against the most advanced.
Now, the problem with that is that level of tech's going to take a lot of money to develop. Even if it's, say, if it's not alien, or if it's not, you know, extraterrestrial, or if it's not of any other origin other than just they've been cartelling technology since the beginning of time. Say it was ours, you know, the amount of money that would it take to research and develop that, you know, I don't think many other countries could have that kind of cash.
Right.
I mean, only a capitalist country like us that, you know, loves the almighty buck and has ridiculous amounts of money. I mean, we spend what, $1 billion, you know, something it's like $100 billion a year on just entertainment technology development. You know, developing new smartphones and tech to just, you know.
And there were hundreds of these objects, according to Kevin. Only about 100 tracks could have been the same ones coming back, or what?
You got to put that in the right context. All right, so we had over the entire time we had 100+ tracks. We were seeing them between 3 and 5, and sometimes up to 10 tracks at a time. But they were, you know, they could have been the same ones over and over because I mean they could have bugged out and come back, you know. But over the entire time we had well over 100 tracks because I mean every time it disappears and then comes back it gets a new track number.
Get it?
So
you didn't see them coming back though, but
and
it's
because
possible.
we have no way to identify them, we've got no way of knowing.
No transponders in there.
You know, I mean they could have been going out to do some type of, you know, say if they were like drones, you know, if they were just out to do monitoring, you know, and we just happen to hit the spot where they're coming in and out of. You know, and they're going off and doing their own missions and then coming to and fro. Right. We wouldn't even have known because of how they move. We have no idea. You know, we just assume that they were just stuck in that area.
Right.
You know, staying in that area. They could have been doing anything they wanted.
Right.
And that's kind of what Kevin and I and a lot of other people kind of like, even though they were benign, even though that they didn't pose any threat to us at the time, we can't do anything about them. We can't, our jets can't get an active track on them. You know, we had to feed them the information of where they were. You know, I mean, a phase array radar at a distance was the only way we could really track them. And it poses some security concerns. So I'm going to go ahead and on a limb and assume that our government knows that these at least exist and that they have been investigating them. I mean, I can't say that they couldn't. You know, I mean, I don't know any proof that they have, but I mean, logically, if you think about it, you know, if I know that this happened, so now I know that it happened, so I logically assume the government knows that it happened. Right. I mean, and as for like them taking the sensor data and stuff like that,
you have evidence. You saw them come on board.
Well, they took my tapes. You know,
they took your tapes.
Yeah. So I know that's been a hot button topic too.
Go ahead and tell us.
But also remember military procedure for any incident that happens, whether it was a Airbus shot down or a mid-air collision between two jets, or even a jet hitting the deck instead of landing properly and crashes, or misses the carrier altogether and hits the water. I mean, any type of accident, any type of anomalous event, even an unknown, you know, there's going to be people that come on board to take this data. Now, the time frame in which they do it may be quicker or later, depending on what's going on. Because obviously, if, you know, like a helicopter hits the deck, there's nothing speculatory about that other than what they're going to have to do after the fact to figure out what happened. what mechanical error happened or whether it was pilot error or what the situation was. But with something like this, I would assume they would want to get the data off the ships as fast as possible.
And they did in this case. They're pretty fast.
Because, I mean, like I said, you got to think through it logically, all right? So here's the U.S. government. We've had days. They know that we've been tracking unknowns. So they've had plenty of time to get their ducks in a row and get organized and figure out. And then basically after we did the intercept, it was just, pop goes a weasel. They sent out people, picked up the recordings, because, I mean, of course they're going to want them. They're going to want to see the data. They're going to want to see whether or not we're all just nuts or whether what happened and stuff like that. But it was just a pretty strange event all the way around.
Yeah.
And it's something that there was 350, 400 people on my ship, over 5,000 people on the carrier. So we're going to have more people come out about this.
Would you encourage them to come forward?
And I have. Yeah. And I mean, are you part of the ATEP? Yeah, you are, right? But once you're part of the ATEP, you're able to get a hold of us. So if anybody that maybe, even if you weren't part of this particular situation, if you're prior military, you had an event, I'll be honest with you, I'm not really interested in hearing anything about anything that's not somebody from prior military, because that's kind of what I'm primarily trying to help other people that have dealt with the same thing I have over the years, let them know, hey, it's cool, and if they have an event or if they have a situation, we should look into it, and eventually, instead of like ATIP or something like that, it would be kind of nice to be able to get a group of, a couple of hundred military personnel to go to Congress about it. That's the big hope.
As a safety issue.
Yeah, well, even just as an issue of, everybody wants the big word, disclosure.
Right.
I mean, even if we don't get disclosure, because I'll be dead honest with you, I'd be pretty happy even if they pulled me into a room, disclosed it to me, and said, you're no longer allowed to talk about it.
You'd feel relieved in a sense.
Yeah, I would. And then I would at least know they're completely aware of it. Yeah. They got it as handled as they could. And then I can just kind of, sit back. And
I understand it, Gary. It kind of leaves you in a state of limbo, right? Because you don't know what you saw, the other guys don't know what you saw. And the hundreds of other people on an image of the Princeton don't know what they saw, we're assuming, right?
Yeah. Nobody knows what they were because there was no way to identify them.
So there's no conclusion to this. There's no resolution or debriefing or anything.
Sometimes I wish there was just like a little window in the side of the damn thing where they were waving at us, but unfortunately there was no way to identify it, even seeing the object itself. Because I mean, even the guys in the Hawkeye and the pilots themselves, they can describe the ships, but we don't know what the hell is inside of them. We don't know whether they're autonomous, whether they're they're AI, or whether they're just drones being piloted from somewhere else. I mean, there's just too many damn unknowns about it, and that's probably what drives me the most nuts about it.
It's already 15 years ago.
Yeah. And I mean, I had no outlet prior to, Kevin getting a hold of me, and, nobody was really talking about it. It might have been a one or two guys that now, want to jump on that bandwagon because they happen to read the article 15 years ago or something, but
we were told there's sightings off the East Coast, USS Roosevelt.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not really up to date on a lot of that. I mean, I know about what we had to do, but in my personal life, I stay really, really busy. I have 2 jobs, so the UFO lifestyle and the researching and stuff like that, I really don't do any of that. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm a nuts and bolts guy. I just happen to be there when something pretty crazy happened on my ship. Some of the other guys are way more into ufology and the study of these unknown crafts and stuff like that. And I always thought it was neat. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, I watch Project Blue Book like the rest of us geeks, but when it comes down to it, I'm not, I'm not up to date and all that
sure.
stuff.
You're just reporting what your experience was.
Because you guys start going into some stuff, and I'm just like, no, I ain't got a clue, man.
Right.
You're talking to just a tech. There's a guy that just worked there.
Who was there?
Yeah. But if you have any specific pointed questions, go ahead and throw them out. Because, I mean, I'll address them if I know them. If I don't, I'll just tell you I don't know them.
No, I think you pretty much answered everything, beyond what we saw, it's speculation what it is, but it's definitely something way beyond our level of technology that any of us officially know about, and that's what we can say at the moment. And it interfered with pretty big naval exercise, right?
Well, I wouldn't even really say it interfered with the exercise.
Yeah.
I mean, the only reason it interfered with the exercise is because we decided to interrogate them.
Oh, they would have just stayed doing their own thing if we had.
Yeah, honestly, they posed no threat. They just sat there. It's like they were just monitoring the situation, just kind of floating due south.
Fravor talked about the little flying squares. Apparently, that's what the Go Fast video is.
And again, at a distance, I mean, if it's got some type of weird, you know, electromagnetic field around it or some type of gravitational field around it, it could be square. But I mean,
Flying squares.
Well, I mean, think about it. Does it really matter the shape at that point? Because if it's using it some type of, anti-gravity device or something like that, it's not gonna need to be aerodynamic because inertia doesn't matter. Because I mean,
Flying squares.
I mean, well,
Go figure.
Well, think about it this way: at that level of tech, it could be a freaking a flying fritter for all I know. You know, I mean, it could be like a freaking coffee cake.
Because it's not in our same space time. It's not operating the way conventionally.
Because anti-gravity would more than likely have to bend space-time around it.
Yeah.
Which then it wouldn't be affected by any type of inertial. It wouldn't be affected by anything except for solid objects. You know, a solid object was still affected. So people have to realize that even though if it used a tech like that, if it ran into a ship, it wouldn't just fly through the ship. I mean, it's not being affected by inertia or gravity, but it's still being affected by air. It still would be affected by water. So it would still have to have some type of secondary systems to have that stuff be, repelled. Right. So it still needs to have some type of repulsion technology too. Yeah. So, I mean, H2O, it's all water. Maybe some type of way to repel water, repel air, or just maybe it just sealed in a vacuum. Uses some type of repulsion technology to be in a vacuum. Who knows? I've thought about it, because I mean that type of tech. I know it's possible now, so it's like now to try to figure out how it works.
Yeah.
And there's a lot better minds than mine on it. So.
Yeah. No, hey, well, Gary, thanks. Appreciate it.
No problem. Take it easy.